This episode of the MOC Squad was filmed in front of a live, members-only audience. Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. We are here once again with the one and only Robert Meyer Burnett to spend a little bit of time hanging out in our members-only chat. Welcome, Rob.
Well, Roberto, I have to say, you know, whenever you're planning these member chats, I look forward to whatever digital trickery you come up with and what you do to my face. And you outdid yourself. You made me the ghoul from Fallout.
There it is.
Walton Goggins himself. He's got nothing on me.
Yep.
And wow, well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you. I am glad you appreciate my manipulation. I'm always trying to think, well, what's up kind of in the zeitgeist right now, or what's something that will work. So yeah,
and I love Fallout. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I did enjoy
the key
it.
word.
Yes.
Did you watch it with Felix?
Felix has watched a couple of episodes, but he's been he's been very much into Shogun. That's been kind of his show right now.
Dude, did you watch it?
Yeah, I loved it.
I have to say, a lot of people they said the ending was underwhelming. I loved it. I loved the ending.
Well, and it aligns with the ending in the book. I mean, it's very much in the spirit of what the book did.
I thought. I mean, the whole all the where all the characters were left. Mm-hmm. You know, and of course Toranaga-sama. What a
badass, right? What a baller!
Yeah, he's the Michael Corleone of the Tokugawa era.
Yeah. Yeah, if I had one criticism, I feel like the Blackthorn character was a little bit underserved. Maybe they just I mean, I understood that kind of the turn where he really learns to appreciate the culture. They kind of left it to the end. It's almost like his entire journey to get there was the entire series, whereas I think in other adaptations and in the book, it happens much earlier. Like even that scene where he's going to commit seppuku happens a lot earlier in the book, right?
I thought what was really interesting is, look, the first Shogun, which is now 44 years old, the first adaptation of the book, it focused much more on Blackthorn.
Sure.
And the Japanese characters weren't subtitled. So, you know, you had Orson Welles giving us narration that would... We were put in Blackthorn's position where we didn't understand the language, and you kind of had to start picking up. And that was, I think, an interesting way to go. And I know that the Japanese were much more interesting than Blackthorn, because I think part of that has to do with the fact that, they wanted to move away from the idea of a quote unquote white savior character.
Less Eurocentric approach to the story, right?
Yeah, which I thought was pretty great, but it also detracted for me because the Blackthorn character, you know, he was our way in, and he was our identifying character. And I felt as a viewer, like I love Richard Chamberlain's Blackthorn. I was with him the whole time. But with Cosmo Jarvis's Blackthorn, who by the way was great, he's a great actor. I felt removed from him because they didn't make it so we identified with him. He was always distant. Like I did not look at him. I mean, I could have watched Shogun without him entirely.
Pretty much,
because once you have all the characters speaking in Japanese, and you're in places because it was really from Blackthorn's point of view, you didn't get into the places that we saw in this new version of Shogun, because it was not. And it makes me. I said to Elizabeth, I go, we got to go back and watch the original Shogun yet again, because I have it on Blu-ray. Like, I've never seen it. I want to watch it. I'm like, okay,
yeah. No, I mean, and I think, you know, the relationship between him and Mariko-san is way more kind of developed both in the book and in the original story as well.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit harder to get into kind of the feelings there, because it kind of, just when you thought it was going to develop a little bit further, it took backstage. And then by the time they kind of picked it up again, it was a little bit hard to then kind of feel what Blackthorn was kind of feeling at that point.
Well, and also you never got the sense like in the new version when she went to him at night. Oh, that was a courtesan.
Right.
You know, their love was, and I know it was a different time. We're talking Thornbird's Richard Chamberlain era.
Right,
so the romantic element of it was part of watching him come around and falling in love. I mean, they called him a barbarian, gaijin, call him what you want, but the fact that was where the two cultures were merging was their relationship.
Yeah.
And you never got it because they had more of the tragic Mariko backstory about the family, even though her family shouldn't have been disgraced, and how people thought of her. And it was interesting, but it was more, I think I wasn't as absorbed by this Shogun as I was by the first Shogun. Also, I was much younger because I watched it when I was 13. But I still loved it. I thought this is peak television. I really appreciated a great literary adaptation. The production was impeccable. The actors were impeccable. The faces they chose for everybody was amazing. And
I love my favorite character. I'm spacing on his name right now, but the one who was kind of the always playing both sides. That guy was just fantastic.
Yabanobi.
Yeah. He was
and the last scene with him and
oh my
Toranaga-sama,
God, so good.
It was so good, good. And it's just again, to me, I've said this before on the show and stuff, but I see it as a Star Trek episode. To me, like if I was in charge of Star Trek, people have said, "Well, Rob, what would you do?" I've always said that you could take if I was redesigning Star Trek for a modern age, and you wanted to have, there are Star Trek episodes you could go back to the classic series. And you could take there's certain episodes like A Taste of Armageddon where Aminiar and Vendikar are at war with one another and they're using computers to fight a war.
Right.
You could turn that into a season.
Where
like the Enterprise rolls up and you could visit both cultures. You could deal with the politics of the situation. And Shogun is the way to do that, where the Japanese are an alien culture. Blackthorn is the Federation officer or the Federation ship. And because people, when I make these comparisons, I don't mean it necessarily literally.
Sure.
But showing an outsider fighting an alien civilization and having to get inside it and appreciate their values and understand how to respect, and then they respect him as well. That to me is the most Star Trekian kind of tale. And it's one long story over the course of a season that, I mean, it has to be really well thought out. And you don't have James Clavell to have written seasons of Star Trek for you, but to me, Shogun is just like Master and Commander was a great Star Trek story, or Hunt for Red October is a great Star Trek story.
Well, when you think about like what Ron Moore did with Outlander, he himself said that he approached it like a Star Trek episode. It's like a person, coming into this completely. It's almost like traveling to an alien world when you're somebody from the 1940s going back in time to the period where
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't think the people that make modern Star Trek, they don't take it seriously. I think there's a level that they think they're working. Well, it's just a pulp show. Right. And I'm like, no. You've got to go, like with Star Wars, you got to go back to Kurosawa and look at it. Star Wars, like Star Trek, is so far up its own ass that you can't. Anyway, I said this, but really enjoyed.
Where's the Star Trek Heart of Darkness? Where's the? I
mean, it's funny because they tried to do. They were going to do that. That's what Star Trek Insurrection was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then they started giving like Brent Spiner and Patrick Stewart input on the script, and then they backed away from that. Michael Piller was frustrated, but that's the thing. You take classic. I mean, that's what Nicholas Meyer did for Star Trek 2. A little bit of Moby Dick in there. But the problem is our civilization doesn't go. Our classic literature is not what's defining storytelling, and the people writing TV today have watched TV in their lives, so that is the literature that they know, which is unfortunate. Because the underlying principles of those things aren't there. And all the stuff that people love was written by people that were more literary minded. And as we move away, it's all cannibalizing itself. which is frustrating.
Maybe we should get Mary Doria Russell to do a Star Trek in the style of the Sparrow. That would be.
Well, I mean, can you imagine?
Could you imagine?
That would be an incredible. I mean, yeah. Let's do a full season.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah, that would blow people's minds. Because that's the way to deal with Star Trek orthodoxy and turn it on its head.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. I mean, I now the shows are all about feelings as opposed to ideas. And it's like no one watches Star Trek to watch the interpersonal relationships on Star Trek now can be transposed to any show.
Yeah.
Whether it's The Last of Us or not Last of Us. I mean, This Is Us. It's all just relationship stuff. So all the people writing Star Trek, they're not science fiction writers. They're writing relationships into a show that we don't need those relationships. And when we need the big ideas, we don't have them.
Right.
And I thought that like the last episode of Shogun was really an episode about poetry. You know, the dream of a dream. And I loved how they opened with old Blackthorn. And it really I don't see it as he was having a dream of what he might be like.
What he might become. That's what they explained. The producers explained it was him dreaming about the road he could have taken had he not taken this road.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which I loved.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think there's a lot of people. Some folks are saying we have a Star Trek rant to get things going, to get the palate wet. So we're gonna go ahead and get everybody in the room in here. And there's been a couple of requests. I know Tom and Major Chai, I guess, have limited time, so we're gonna go ahead and have them jump up first. So I'm gonna go ahead and let everybody into our.
Because Tom's moving.
Tom is in the middle of a move. Exactly. Oh, sorry. I just did something wrong. Why can I not? I hit the wrong button. Let's try it again.
She said.
Admit all. Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Remember that you've got the tools at the bottom of the screen for raising your hand. But like I said, I'm going to give priority to a couple of folks who requested it ahead of time just because they are running a little bit on a tight schedule. So, and then as I do this, let me go ahead and put Rob front and center here. There we go. And I know Tom is in the middle of a move, and I think it was, who else was it? It was Major Chai who said she had to leave in 20 minutes. So let me try to jump to Major Chai first I don't see her in the room right now, though.
She might be gone already.
So we're going to go ahead and jump to Tom. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Tom in. Welcome, Tom Jr. Jackson, to the discussion.
Hey, guys.
What's up, dude? How's the move going?
It's going okay. Got my bed over to the new house. Some other things, a lot of my movies. I still got more movies to bring over there. It's like I'm packing the observatory. It's like, imagine how you felt.
I got
all those movies.
I just moved out a bunch of stuff from John's studio, and I took a bunch more shelves and stuff. And one of the things I needed most is shelf space for discs. I mean, you can't see. I have stacks of discs all over. And I want them back into where they're supposed to go. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, I have a show on the Ray Lytle channel. If you guys go to morningdisaster.net and sign up for one of the tiers, I can't remember which one it is. It's a subscription show. It's myself and Ray Lytle, and it's called The Concession Stand, and we talk about movies.
By the way, I want to thank you for the kind words
I'll
about.
Have to send you over.
I want to thank you about the kind words about my remembrance of Ray Garton. I appreciate that you thought that was a good thing.
It was perfect. It really was. It was just the right amount there.
It's funny because he was the first author I became friends with on social media. I think we met like 15 years ago on Facebook. Somehow I'd mentioned him and he contacted me.
Just in the chat 2 weeks ago. He was just in the chat.
I know.
He was just in one of the chats. Yeah, and asking me how I was doing.
I was hoping to interview him for the 1000th episode of the show, but he was always saying he was a Luddite and didn't want to come on. But I mean, I was such a fan of his, and it's like I hadn't pulled out that copy of Crucifix Autumn that I have for 30 years, and I didn't realize it was one of 300. I was like, wow, because he had sent me. I have a couple of his hardcovers that he sent me himself. So
yeah, he was a good guy.
I loved his sense of humor, his puerile, infantile. I loved it. His sense, he could still delve into because his books, like if he could think up something gross, he would do it. I mean, that's why he was a splatterpunk. No, he was. I will miss him, and I'll miss his work.
Did you get my letter?
You know what? I think I did get a letter from you, but I have not opened that letter because I've been running around. I have a stack of mail I haven't opened, so I apologize for not opening.
Yeah,
I'll open it later today.
It's a very interesting letter, and it will certainly jog some memories for you because it all happened because of an episode of Let's Get Physical Media.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I will open that up.
Something was said in it, and I went looking for something, and I stumbled upon something else that just opened up these floodgates and stuff, and it'll interest you. And if you want to read it on one of the shows, you can, because it's a fantastic. I was going to write to you about something else, and then this came up. I'm like, oh, I got to write about this. This is even better.
Okay. So, well, yeah, I will totally. I will read that. Yeah, I will get that. I just been between the audio drama and the movie, White Devils, and everything else. It's been slammed.
That was really cool, seeing the progression of the poster.
Wasn't that cool? You know, I had to ask, and I can't wait to see
showing on the show. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the finished version. We're supposed to get the sound mix. Our sound mixer got a little delayed. We're supposed to get the final sound mix next week. And then I think I'll have a watch party or something and show everybody. It's not a real pleasant movie, to be honest. It's an acquired taste.
Good old-fashioned time watching a really fun movie. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
Yeah. Sex and violence and political commentary.
Yeah.
So,
because everybody loves that.
I know, right?
Yeah. And then I got a steelbook this week. Amongst everything, I got the steelbook to Little Monsters.
Oh, wow.
With Howie Mandel and Fred Savage.
Yeah, that's cool.
I got this from Walmart. And actually, at Walmart, they actually had the steelbook with Doctor Strange, but it was one of those Mondo ones, and it actually looked like it came right out of the comic book.
Yeah. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah.
It's like Walmart took everyone's steel. A lot of times they had steelbooks just sitting in warehouses. So they've gotten everything. It's so bizarre. Like I'm completely frustrated ordering from Amazon over the last couple of months. Like they didn't send me my Departed steelbook that came out this week, the two new Jean Rollin titles that came out. I mean, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why aren't you getting discs?
Catherine got hers, I believe. She posted it in our group chat. She got hers.
Yeah, I mean, they've been delaying my. I mean, I got my Conan disc finally, but I mean, they said they don't have a date, and then they just said they didn't have a date for my Conan disc, and it just showed up. So frustrating.
Yeah, that can happen. But what are you gonna do? You know.
I know.
So, but other than that, hopefully by the next time you have a member call, you'll be seeing me from my new room. Gonna have all my posters up. It'll look nice.
By the way, I just want to say Roberto Major Chai's in the chat.
Yep, just got her.
Yep. Well, yeah. So how long is it going to take you to finish moving?
Probably like another 2 or 3 days.
Oh, nice. I mean, I moved out. I moved Zoe recently. I moved all the furniture I wanted out of John's office. He just said, take whatever you want. I'm like, all right. I rented a truck or rented a van and just took a bunch of. I always need more shelf space for spaceship models. action figures. I never have enough. I mean, you can't see, but I mean, there's always something like, look, here's an interceptor from UFO and the crater that it launches from. I have 3 of these. I want them on the shelf next to each other. It's just here, just right underneath my camera. But yes, I would like to put them up somewhere.
All
But now I
right.
have no
Well,
room.
I will let you go, but hopefully, when you read the letter, you'll get what I'm talking about. Because you'll oh my God!
I can't wait to read it. I will crack it open.
It's a good one. It's a really good one.
All right.
All right. Great to see you, Tom, and good luck with the move.
Good luck with the move, man. Don't get
congratulations to yeah.
Don't overexert yourself.
Yes. All right. Let me see if I can find Major Chai Chai here. There she is. So let's go ahead. So Major Chai Chai, you should be able to unmute now. Can you join us?
Yep.
There you are.
There you are. How are you?
I am good. I have had a busy 2 weeks. My cat is trying to come into the frame.
Oh, that's okay. We like that.
And so everybody want to know the results of the costume contest?
Yes. And the pictures are great. You what?
I didn't win.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you place? Did you get any
No, nothing.
Oh.
The other Witch King won best fantasy character, and the other characters, I sent you a letter that gave you the entire summary with pictures.
I have that, and I have between you. I've got your letter, and I got this Planet of the Apes collection that I need to show.
Yeah, and so it's kind of funny. Me standing in line, people on the other side of me won. Like this one lady dressed as Empress Giorgio from Discovery, and she did a fantastic job. She hand beaded her robe.
Wow.
And it was amazing. She won the novice category, and novice means not that you're new, but you've never won before. And then the lady on the other side, who I learned was a competitive ballroom dancer, she dressed as Appa. I think that was the name, Appa from
Airbender.
Yeah, from Airbender, and she won audience favorite. So yeah, but to me, I look at it, I won the day. I got to spend it with my son. He now wants to try cosplay. Let's see, I had a guy dressed as the Ghoul from Fallout. He came up to me and he's like, you should have won. Complete stranger, I have no idea. And he's like, you should have won. And then leaving that evening, one of the judges, his name is Eli, came up to me and he's like, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. And he showed me pictures of his first costume, and he had been I think it was a space marine from Warhammer.
Oh, nice.
Amazing. He said, it took me 4 years before I won. So I got all this, I got all the love from you guys and support, and I had met all these wonderful people, and we talked cosplay, and we talked movies, and I learned that a lot of the cosplayers are now taking stuff from video games, because I didn't recognize most of the characters.
Yeah. Which is something, I'll tell you something, it's kind of a bellwether. You know, I've always looked at cosplay at conventions as a bellwether of where the culture is going and what people are interested in. And, you know, when at Comic-Con in the 90s, every year you'd see gaggles of girls in Sailor Moon costumes. And I was like, wow, this show is incredibly influential. And that's when you started to see the audience change, and you realized that a lot of girls were coming into the community that weren't there before, and brought in by anime or brought in by video games, which I think is a great thing, you know, and everybody's able to celebrate. I mean, the thing about cosplay, it's all about the creativity of the people. You don't have to win necessarily, but the choice of characters and what people are into, that's the fun part about, I think, about the contest, is seeing what people come up with. And some people come up with like elaborate comedy type costumes that are funny, that they're really clever. Like I remember seeing, I was actually, this was at a Halloween show. There was a guy who was in a really nice business suit, but he had his tie was up like this, and his, like, as if he was. And I asked him, what are you? He goes, oh, I'm a stockbroker that just jumped to his death after the stock market crashed. And I was like, well, I don't think he would necessarily win a contest, but it was so clever that I'm like, okay, that's what I'm here for. You know, that's what I'm here for. The what people are doing. And I just thought that, and for me, he won my night, because I'm like, that's really clever. And then how he got the tie to stand up in the air, and how he got his jacket to be blowing out as if he was falling. It was great.
Yeah. And I saw stuff like that. And we're a small Comic-Con, so it was amazing. But I had even better news during the week, was that the STEAM club that I helped mentor at the local middle school, they took first in the state with their science and tech competition.
Wow. What did they make? Do they make something?
Well, it's 25 events within this competition. Okay. So it's Technology Student Association is the competition. There are over 30 events at the state level, and they competed in 25 and took 25 medals. That's
amazing.
It is. The credit goes to the teacher and the kids. I was like a little assist in helping prepare the kids, but I'm really proud of them. They put in a lot of work. These kids give up their Tuesdays and Thursdays afternoons and their Saturday mornings to prepare for this. And it's not just building a mousetrap car or a solar racer or a catapult. Those are 3 events. They do coding, they do digital photography, they design an off-grid home. There was even children's storytelling.
Wow. That sounds amazing.
It is. And so it's a beehive of activity whenever I go in there, and I'm just there to kind of help the teacher guide the kids in what they're doing. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, very rewarding experience.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's so cool. 25 medals.
25 medals.
That's amazing. Wow.
And
kudos to you for that.
Well, I said I played a small part, but I will let the kids know that.
But still, yeah, that's amazing.
And so I see your time's almost up. Yeah, I'm getting ready to take my own kids to see Spirited Away.
Ooh, have they seen it before?
Oh, multiple times.
Oh, in the theater.
You're seeing it in a theater. This is our 3rd or 4th time to see it in a theater. It is now tradition. If it is in the theater, I am taking them.
That's so cool.
Yes. And this is Japanese with subtitles, not even in English. They wanted that option.
Yeah, I know. I can't watch even anime. I can't watch it dubbed. I can't do it.
Well, thanks again for everybody's support and your support, Rob.
Oh yeah, of course, and thanks for your continued support.
Yeah.
But this is great, and yes, I will be showing your pictures. I didn't do. I think I did one show this week. I keep trying to do shows, but I've been so busy, and then it gets too late, and I can't do them. And then we've also had house guests from France. House guests from Elizabeth's brother was here, and he just left, and her aunts are here from France. So it's been quite a time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Major Chai Chai. Good to see you. Enjoy the movie. We have a couple of new members. Mike Gallagher shows up as a new member.
Hello, Mike.
We have Daryl the Derelict, also a new member. And we have Maximilian Literal. I'm not sure. It's got 2 T's. Also a new member. So welcome.
Welcome.
I forgot to show them. There's Maximilian's Sorry, I kind of got rid of these before I could show them all. And then we have a $4.99 super chat. Remember, folks, if you want to give super chats or if you want to do tips, you can contribute those.
Let me look at that.
Lipstick Train Face donates $4.99, saying to the lady that recommended Sugar on Apple TV last member chat, thank you, it's great. Well, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think that was Modesty Maltese that maybe recommended it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes, it was.
Yeah, well, thank you, Lipstick Train Face, and I'm glad you're enjoying that. All right. Next up is Joey Hamilton. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Welcome, Joey.
Hello.
Hi, What's up, man? How's your part of New York?
Good. Getting into actual spring. I always say we have like a couple false springs. We get like a few days where you think things are moving the right direction, and then you get hit with another snowstorm.
That's what's happened here this year. You know, I thought it was gonna
not snow.
No, but it has been. There's been snow in the mountain. It kind of changes. There's always like one day where it literally, but we've had like 4 of those days, which is wild. I mean, it wasn't supposed to rain here since last week, and we've been getting rain at nights. Clouds are rolling in, and it rains. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah, we had a pretty mild winter as that goes. I think we had like a last big snow was like maybe December, and then we had like one more little one, but yeah, really not too bad at all.
That's good.
So yeah, it really wasn't that bad, but it sort of stays in this like cloudy, blah until like May, and then it's good for a while.
I know how that goes.
Oh yeah, Seattle, you'd definitely be used to some of that weather.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm pretty excited for the Apes movie. I like the marketing they're doing with the horseback.
Oh, I saw it was in I had to go into Hollywood yesterday because I had to do an interview for this documentary about Christmas movies, and there was a building on Beverly Boulevard, which is a main thoroughfare, and the entire side of the building, it was only a single-story building, but was an Apes mural. And it was absolutely beautiful. It was like a block long. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I've heard mixed things about it. I had a couple of friends who saw it the other day, and but no one said it was bad or anything like that. So because I'm really looking forward to it.
Interesting. Yeah, haven't thought much about it. Like I used to get more into like watching the trailers a lot, but I just saw it once, and the thing I liked is it's closer to the iconography of the original, and that always captured. I liked the reboot a lot. The third movie not as much as the other two, but
no, I thought Rise was great. I was, it's funny because that you talk about IP. This is the 10th Planet of the Apes movie, and the first one came out in 1968. And when I was a kid, Planet of the Apes was the dominant franchise. I mean, pre-Star Wars, for me, it was James Bond and Planet of the Apes, and then sci-fi movies I watched on TV. But those are movies I saw in the theater. Bond not until 1977, but Planet of the Apes I would see in the theater because they would re-release them. And as a kid, my parents could drop me off, and I could see all 5. In a day, and then they would show them on TV. So I've always loved the Planet of the Apes franchise. There was a TV show and the animated series, the Mego action figures, and
they did it. They found a cool way to keep it going, where it's like a reboot, but like also reimagining. It wasn't like beholden to anything in the original, but I do think that the first movie, I think it's a great. I think it works. I mean, the timeline for Planet of the Apes has always been a little suspect anyway, but it's more of a concept thing. Like nobody really cares. It's not, people don't obsess over the canon the way they do.
But I think it works. I mean, I think Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a really good, and they mentioned the Icarus leaving Earth in that movie.
Yeah, like there's little nods to it. Yeah. I remember that movie being a little bit on the nose one of my pet peeves is when they make like a prequel and then they quote lines from the original as if they were said before. That always bothers me, especially if it's like a spontaneous line. You know what I mean? Where it's like an ad-libbed line and then somebody says it before, so it's sort of implied that they were referring to that when they said it originally.
100%. That is a total pet peeve of mine, and yes, that drives me crazy. And to me, that shows a lack of creativity.
Yeah, I get the idea of it, but that's always been something that annoyed me.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it doesn't. Rise of the Planet of the Apes doesn't really jibe with what happened in Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, but I don't care. I mean, it's
yeah. No, I mean, it was a good trilogy, and yeah, I
it really was. Yeah,
especially given where the franchise was. So yeah. Anyway, one way or another, I think that will be kind of a fun summer blockbuster to see.
Yeah, me too. I just hope it's really kicking off the summer movie season. On May 10th, you got Fall Guy on the 3rd, then Planet of the Apes, Furiosa on 24th, which I can't wait to see. And I've heard nothing but good things about Alien Romulus. They showed footage from somebody told me something really interesting. My friend Rob G told me something really interesting about Alien Romulus that I thought it was like apparently like the colony LV-426 in Aliens. This movie is about kids. The main characters are not kids; they're like teenagers or late teens, and all they've known is space. They've grown up on space stations their whole life. They're spacers. They're like belters in the expanse, and so they don't know what it's like to live on a planet. And so they get involved.
That's pretty cool concept. Yeah,
yeah, and so they get these things happen. I'm not going to tell you anything more than that, but the idea of character, and I think that's a really interesting way to go. It makes it, because how do you make xenomorphs on the rampage interesting? And he told me some other things that made it really. I'm like, okay,
yeah, that's the stuff that a lot of these franchises need. Like we talked about Jurassic Park, they basically recycled the exact same idea.
Yeah,
and we just talked about like apes. They came up with it wasn't just like, oh, the humans running from apes is just over and over again. They actually came up with, let's make the ape the main character, which they kind of did already with Conquest, but
it was a different way. I mean, Conquest is an allegorical movie. The idea that all the pets died and the apes were taken in and turned into servitude, and the whole it's heavy-handed, but the slavery allegory. But Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, especially the R-rated version, I never liked it very much when I was a kid because I didn't really get what was going on. But watching it now, you're like, holy shit, this movie's intense, man. Especially when he's giving the speech at the end.
Yeah,
when it's great. The R-rated version, he's calling, for revolution. I love it.
I'm going to be going to California for the first time this summer. Where do they shoot? Like
Century City.
That's where it is.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so Century City is, and it still looks the same. I mean, they've updated it, but where the bridge is, where they go over Avenue of the Stars, yeah, you got to go there and take the pictures. You can still get the angles. It's funny because most people don't know, but there's always, whenever I've gone to Century City, there's always somebody there trying to recreate a photo.
Well, there's probably other movies and stuff set in those places.
Oh yeah. Well,
that's cool because it's always sort of sad when people do and everything's so different, and it's just like Well,
what's really cool is it's just down the street from Nakatomi Plaza where Die Hard took place. So the Century City they had sold off, 20th Century Fox had sold off some of their backlot, and they built Century City out of that backlot, and so that's where they shot Apes at Conquest. And you've seen it in a bunch of other things too, but it's still cool when you see that. I mean, when I first moved to LA in 88, 36 years ago, it's like had to go to Century City and take those pictures. It was great. I loved it.
Good to see you, Joey. Thank you so much for joining us,
man.
Rob, I'm gonna have Aaron coming next. I need to step away for a moment, so in case you need to be in charge of the queue, I just need to go get some water. So let me go ahead and let Aaron in. Aaron, you should be able to join the conversation now.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
What's up, dude? How are you?
I am doing well. I like your shirt.
Thank you, man. Actually, check this out. It's a not an original, but I got it in like '99, so it's it's worn in, and
nice.
So just you know, the punk vibes and everything.
You
Dude,
gotta love that.
how's everything going on in SoCal? I'm up in NorCal right now.
It's all right. You know, I mean, it's been raining here. It doesn't, you know, I always consult my little app, and the rain hasn't showed up. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I had stuff on my driveway. I've got shelving units I've been moving in, and I'm like, what's with the rain, bro?
Yeah,
Come on.
that's confusing. It's like, you know, we'll have like 4 or 5 days of the nice weather, and then all of a sudden it'll.
Yeah, but it's not registering on the app. So I'm like, do I cover up what I'm trying to move? I'm like, where does this come from? And we're in a weird place because we're at the sort of the base of the desert, but there's all these mountains kind of around us. So on one hand, and it will be 85 degrees out and clear, but then up the kind of where we're at, the clouds will bunch up as they try and move over the mountains and into the desert or whatever, and then it'll rain. It's kind of weird. And I'm like, God damn it. Left something outside.
Dude, I wanted to talk about, first of all, I wanted to talk about Superman, but I'm going to save that for a second because the other day I was at this place in Monterey, in California, and it was like kind of like maybe like not too updated of a bar, but
right.
Everybody in there looked like they could have been a character in Red Shoe Diaries. I'm not even joking. like that sort of
what
era.
A reference.
You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like that,
yeah.
That era. I mean, everybody looked beautiful and like chiseled, and you know, just the clothes they were wearing, and it just felt like it was stuck in time from.
Well, Monterey, everyone's beautiful up there. You know, fit, rich.
Yeah, very rich.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would imagine with all the waterfront property, and it's beautiful up there.
It's beautiful.
Of course, the highways collapse, the ones over the ocean. So.
Yes. Highway 1 does have its limitations. I usually am in Half Moon Bay part of the time, and out there is pretty cool. But
I don't think you're wrong though. But I'm sure half those people in there are embroiled in some kind of Red Shoe Diaries-esque romantic escapades. The escapades of the, you know, they're doing some shenanigans.
This guy pulled out in this. He had like this brunette, like she had like red lipstick, and they pulled out in this '88 Jaguar V12 XJS, and I was like, I want to be that man right now, right now.
I love that it was an old school. It was an old school.
Yeah, you know, if he keeps it, you know, you keep it right, and that reminds me of like Laserdisc days, like the crime thrillers you would find on like a Laserdisc, you know, and the movies that were coming out during that time, of course.
Heather Thomas in Cyclone.
Totally.
I had that Laserdisc. But yeah, that's it's funny that you say that because I just got from Synapse a 4K of this Lucio Fulci movie that I've never seen before. And it's like his version of an erotic thriller. And it's got Corinne Clary from The Story of O in it. And I'm like, oh, I can't. Thing is, I have a house full of girls. I can't put on some like, you know, explicit erotic thriller from like the 80s. What are you watching? Well, honey, I'm watching this thing. Gotta do it late night when no one's up.
I know we're like running lower on time, but this is what I want to say about Superman because I'm really anticipating this movie.
James Gunn Superman?
Yeah, and I'm you know, like DCU. I mean, I'm diehard about the Reeves movies.
Yeah.
But I think like more than a crest, more than underwear on the outside of his suit, more than his hair, more than does Lois look right, more than whatever. I want to see like the most brilliant, giant action set pieces I have ever seen in a Superman movie. I mean, I can have the rest of the story and everything like that, but I really want James Gunn to like take care of like these huge rescue scenes of him, like, you know, picking up a boat out of somewhere, like
right,
toppling up a building and like actually catching people. And
I think we're gonna get that.
Right.
I think, you know, it's funny because I know James Gunn a little bit. I mean, not lately, but 20 years ago, I was a producer on a movie that he wrote and starred in, and that Craig Mazin directed. And you know, after that, we went to a lot of parties and stuff. And I think he has that sensibility. I think what's so strange is that everybody judges him I understand this. You can only judge people about their past work, but I think he also has he knows that it's got to be a classical. Like, I would imagine what James Gunn is going to do is a cross between the Fleischer 40s Superman cartoons,
Yes.
which I love. There's going to be an element of that. There's going to be an element of a little bit of the pitter patter of screwball comedies from the 40s, 50s, and 60s or whatever, like Joseph Mankiewicz. And then we're gonna get classic, because he's a big DC fan. We're gonna get classic DC Superman action, like right out of a Kurt Swan comic.
Yeah.
From the 70s. And
Yeah.
like you're saying, I could see definitely him, like a building collapsing and him putting the building back into place and fixing the foundation, and people are falling out. And like, because I think what's interesting to me, and I've said this about, look, I like Zack Snyder's trilogy, but as I've said this, and people like, well, that means you don't like it. They don't understand. I can enjoy the operatic nature of it, but there was no joy in those movies.
Yep.
Like there's no, like in Richard Donner's original Superman, when Superman sits down to interview Lois Lane, and she's like, can you tell what underwear I'm wearing? And he can't, and he's got, well, I can't see through lead. Oh, that's interesting. And then when she gets him and walks out, he's like, pink.
Pink.
You're
Yeah.
wearing pink underwear. And Superman was a baller.
Yes.
He knew he was this seductive figure. And
Yep.
he liked being Superman. And it was one of those things. He had the Americana growing up in Smallville, where he had to hide his powers, and he had the kindly father, you were brought here for a reason, and all that. And you had that mythical thing, but then when you got to New York City, it was the fun time. It was that kind of, and that whole opening montage where Superman reveals himself to the world. He saves Air Force One. He gets this cat burglar on the side of the building when he's crawling up, and he's just standing there. I mean, it's a simple camera trick, but it was so effective in that movie. He rescues a kitten from a tree and gives it. I think we're going to get all of that. I think we're going to get that classical, the city of the future, metropolis kind of a vibe. Because, and by the way, I don't think it's not just Superman. This movie has to be great for the entire history of Warner Brothers. There's more pressure, I think, on James Gunn than ever before. And I think that's what I'm excited about, is that I think he can deliver. He's got a lot of pressure on him. He's the head of the studio, and he's directing their flagship movie. And if he fucks up, the fuck up is spectacular. I mean, it's a crash and burn like we haven't seen in a long time, maybe not ever. So I think he's going to do it. I do. I have faith. All right, man.
Thank you, Aaron.
It was great to see you. Thanks for being here. That was a good question. I like that.
Yeah,
I love
you.
I want to go to Monterey and have a Red Shoe Diaries experience at a bar.
Yeah, thank you
All
so much for the comments, Aaron. And next up, we are going to have Stubble McShave join us, the resident expert on all things Wheel of Time and many other fantasy properties.
Yes.
Welcome,
What's up,
Stubble.
dude?
Hi, Rob.
How's it going? How are you?
It's going good.
What are you drinking?
It's a 12-year Jameson.
Oh, nice. And that's neat. No ice?
The ice is melted.
Oh, ice in it too. Nice. I did have a beer. I was drinking a beer. I was drinking a Blue Moon, a little Belgian white, but I would love to have a 12-year-old Jameson right now.
Yeah. Anyway, I watched All About Eve.
Oh, and
I enjoyed it. It's not my top 10 movie or anything like that.
Right, I understand. I know.
But I appreciate it for what it is. And I can surely watch it again sometime, but not something I would rush back to.
No, I can understand that because it's the subject matter, but it's got such a great villainess. I mean, she's so, and I just love the actors, and I love George Sanders as the critic. He's so great.
And a lot of other movies have copied, the villainess
Oh, everything. I mean, it's totally. I mean, she's a femme fatale villain, but
Yeah.
her whole thing. I mean, it's that storyline has been copied, even in like Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan. You know, somebody trying to, or Showgirls, which is basically all about Eve. Same kind of thing.
Yeah, and you know,
Addison DeWitt is the name of George Sanders' character, and I just love him. He's so acerbic, and he sees through all of. It's great.
He has a great voice as well.
Oh, a great, yeah. So,
but
good.
you know, Phoebe at the end, you know, does the same thing more or less.
Right. Yeah.
But do you think that Margot originally did the same thing to her predecessor?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think she did because I think that they were the first generation of these kind of venerable, because she's pushing 40.
Yeah.
So the movie was 1950. So you're going all the way back to the 30s where she probably started. She probably began as a young girl in vaudeville. So the theater probably wasn't where it was. It's become where it was. So I always saw her as first generation royalty in the theater. So and they haven't heard of anybody being such a schemer before. You know, when you meet somebody like Eve Harrington, you don't expect her to be, because even Margot Channing, the great Margot Channing, is like, oh, why don't you like Eve? You know, and she doesn't see it where her friend does.
Yeah.
You know, and her friend knows, and her friend's like, and Margot should see it. And if she was like Eve, she would have known and seen through it, but it took her friend to, she didn't. So I don't think I like to believe that Margot Channing was a good person.
In my mind, she's the first villain.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. But who knows? Who knows?
That's only because I love her so much. But I absolutely think your interpretation's correct. You know, there's no evidence, but yeah, I mean, she does have that hard edge to her.
Yeah. But you know, changing subjects a bit here. Project Hail Mary starting up.
I can't wait.
To be, you know, not spoil anything. Sylvester Stallone. Do you know what I mean? Which character?
Yeah. Oh, have they cast that?
No. I mean, the creature.
Yeah. But I mean the you want him to do the voice?
No. He's called Rocky. I was trying to be circumspect.
I thought that they cast the voice actor to play that.
That could be great.
But I mean, it would be funny that's why he calls him that in the book. But he would have to have a different, like, he couldn't but just because the alien voice translated would sound weird, but he calls him Rocky because of the way it looks.
Yeah, but that would be a bit too on the nose.
Yeah, too on the nose.
Yeah,
but I can't wait. Start shooting next month or in June.
Yeah, and I saw that they were focused on getting Rocky right.
Yeah, I mean they have to.
Yeah, he's the most important character.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be really interesting to see, because I hope they use a combination of practical effects and CG to make a move, because if it has to be like it, there hasn't been a movie where the alien is so important since E.T.
and so different.
Yes, and it has to look, you know, it can't look like something that's terrestrial.
No.
And I think you're right. It's going to be really interesting and also that character has to be beloved. Like the audience has to be in love with the character by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
I think that's the movie that's being made now that I'm most excited for.
Yeah. I want to see how good Megalopolis is, or if it's any good. I'm just curious to see it.
Yes, me too. And now that it has a French distributor, we're going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
So.
But I thought about, you know, release when you release weekly or, you know, all at once.
Oh, right.
Because I think they should have switched to. I think Masters of the Air should have been released all at once. because it didn't have the pull to capture an audience every week, except for historians and people who are very
right.
interested in
I
this
think it got better as
subjects.
it got better as it went along. I found it surprisingly dry the first couple of episodes. It wasn't until episode 3 where I was really locked in.
Yeah, it just played on a few historians that has anything to discuss about the episodes.
Right.
The normies just watch it, and I think it would have served it better to have been released all at once.
Yeah.
Whereas Fallout would have benefited from a weekly release,
Mm-hmm.
or at least maybe a few every week or something. But because that was a show that you could discuss and speculate about, but you couldn't really about Masters of the Air. It was just something to watch. Which
I agree, and it wasn't. I mean, it's hard because how do you turn each one of those flights? They could have gotten killed, destroyed. But how do you create the drama?
Right.
It's harder to create the drama because it's not like you're men in the woods fighting at Bastion like they did in Band of Brothers. I mean, you're in this plane, there's nowhere to go. It's always the same.
Yeah.
So
that's my opinion anyway. But I think my time is up. So
thank you, Stubble. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
All right. And we're gonna have a 1001 Johnny, or a 1001 Johnny needs to step away very soon. So we're going to go ahead and have him come up next. And I was just thinking maybe 1001 Johnny is binary. So is it 9 Johnny or Johnny 9? We'll have to ask him. Like Gary said,
he's a new millennial.
Maybe that's what it is. Yes.
2001 was actually the first year of the new millennium. That's why Kubrick called his movie 2001 instead of 2000.
Exactly.
And I will die on that hill.
You'll die on that hill. It's like,
it's 1 to 10.
It's like
1 to 10.
It's 1001.
1001.
I wanted to do 101, but I was taken. So I did 1000.
Well,
I made this 8.
Well,
there you go.
Welcome, Johnny.
How you guys doing?
Doing well. Doing well.
Sorry, I I stayed up late last night, so I woke up late and then saw, oh shoot, the member calls today. And he only posted it 45 minutes ago when I first found out. But that's today. I didn't get an advance notice. I didn't plan for this.
I apologize. That was our doing.
I got a new roommate moved in. So the first night he's here, guess what movie I showed him?
It had something to do with Ultraman.
You'd think, but no.
He tried.
Wow.
Really, first what it was, we watched the Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the first half of it.
That's good.
We went downstairs, hang out with my neighbors, and then we came back up, and then we watched Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Nice. The third Apes film.
Yeah, it was his first Apes film. Alec, what did you think?
I thought it was great. Sorry, am I a member now?
No, you're a guest.
Oh,
If you say anything, it reflects poorly on me.
good.
No, had he seen it before?
No, he hasn't. It was his
Because
first
to jump into the Apes franchise, that's a pretty wacky movie to do it with, because Dr. Milo and but I still love that movie. When I was a kid, I loved that, watching the apes interact in the modern time and becoming the toast of the town. I loved all that.
Yeah, it's like that's definitely the best part of the film. And also Cornelius, I was just thinking, I was saying it while we were watching. Cornelius is such a kind-hearted ape, but he's got such a scowl on his face. Disapproving. It's like, oh wait, that's an ape. I don't want to piss him off.
Right.
And then he never, yes, okay. Yeah, so then it's all and then he finally proves it when that guy with the picture calls his wife a monkey and he's had it.
Right. Right. No, but it's also, I love the opening. When I was a kid, because I loved anything to do with spaceships or and when they take their helmets off and reveal it's such a great.
First time I ever learned about Planet of the Apes, it was, you remember when they were releasing it on DVD for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
My dad bought us the Adam West Batman film on DVD. it was on DVD, and I was like, Batman, can we get that? And our dad, we didn't know our dad knew the show. We didn't know it was a show. We just saw Batman, and he's wearing the proper costume. It's black and white, like you see a movie where and his Robin's in it. And our dad actually said yes. That was surprising. And it turned out our dad knew the show, and he's going through it, and he's reminiscing, showing us something he grew up with. And then the commercials on the DVD was for Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I see is the gorillas on the horseback. And then what stuck with me the most is when you see the astronauts take their helmets off and the apes are underneath, and they're playing this dramatic music on the TV. Like, and I never watched those movies until like when I started talking about it. You know, I'm writing in those super chats and quoting the film. That's when I actually started to watch them for real.
Oh, it was. I mean, I saw the first Planet of the Apes when I was 5 years old, and it blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind.
Kids downstairs, and they like their youngest is 2.
I think the Planet of the Apes franchise when I was a kid in the 70s was the perfect time to, because I was watching Twilight Zone and Star Trek and the Irwin Allen movies, and then I was watching. I was 5, and that's when it really started to coalesce with me. Like I knew where the TV guide was, and I would look things up and anything that looked. But I didn't. When I saw Planet of the Apes, I completely stumbled across cold. I knew nothing about it, and the only reason, and it was my bedtime was 9 o'clock, and it started. And you've got Charlton Heston, you know, talking into doing the ship's log, and because I'd seen Star Trek, I'm like, ooh, he's doing a ship's log. So I knew what that was, and I didn't quite understand. You know, I leave the 20th century behind with no regrets. I didn't know what was going on, and then the credits start to roll, and I thought the movie was over. But I kept watching because the music was really, it's Goldsmith's score, and you saw the colors. And I'm like, I'm just watching because I felt like this is the last bit of this that I'm going to get to see. I don't know what it was because it seemed like the end of a movie. Like it was like Charlton Heston was summing up whatever. Yeah, but I didn't know it was a cold open. And then when they crashed into Lake Powell and I realized the movie was going on, I ran upstairs. I don't think I've ever run faster in my life because I didn't want to miss anything. I had to go upstairs and I had to make a case to my mother that I should be able to stay up and watch this movie. I'm going, and my mom she doesn't care. And because she knows when I'm like this. And she was like, well, what's the movie called? And I go, well, this Planet of the Apes. And my mom looks at me and she goes, you can stay up and watch it. And then I like run down. And, you know, in the beginning of that movie, if you don't know what you're watching, and I was a 5-year-old kid, they're traipsing through the forbidden zone, you know, and then they find the watering hole. And I could tell, like, I didn't really understand what Charlton Heston was saying, but he's kind of this cynic, you know, and then the thing that blew my mind, maybe blew my mind more than anything ever in the history of my life, was the snap zoom to the ape on horseback for the first time. And it does this snap zoom and you hear the Goldsmith score and the horns are like, you know, and I lost my shit. Like it was one of those moments where as a kid, if someone asked me as an imagination connoisseur, what was the one moment, the 2 moments that one, and when the priest gets fried in War of the Worlds. Mm-hmm. When I was watching War of Worlds, those are the 2 moments because I saw them both when I was 5. That was it, man. After I saw those 2 moments, that my mind was forever locked in on that stuff, and it would never.
Well, I want to speak real quick because I've only got like 25 seconds.
Oh no, keep going. It's okay. I've been talking.
I'll end saying like with my imagination connoisseur moments, it was like I was probably 5 or 7 too. One of them, of course, was Ultraman, but Ultraman was actually the second thing. The first thing was the Japanese Power Rangers.
Right.
It's called O-Ranger, and it was the 20th anniversary season. Like first, and it was the debut of the King Ranger, the 6th Ranger. He was the Gold Ranger in the American version, but he's a Black Ranger with gold armor, Japanese.
Yep.
And he's like, and I didn't know what it was at the time, but he was like Bruce Lee. When he starts beating up the minions, he starts going, oh. He punches them and they fall into gears. They actually fall apart, gears spread everywhere because they're all robot minions.
Right.
And then he like jumps off the guy he just beat up and he like pulls his pants up a little bit and then goes in. And it's like, this guy's the coolest guy ever. I want to be like him someday.
Yeah.
And then of course, Ultraman, it's just a monster. It's this green fish monster that just wakes up. It's just a natural disaster. It's essentially just a Godzilla situation, except it's not as destructive. And he's got this nuclear bomb on his arm. So it's just simply get everybody away from it. But 3 people are left behind. And one of the members is a member of the Science Patrol. And so then the deputy captain's coming in. And then there's the guy in the plane and he's distracting the monster. And then it looks like then the plane gets knocked down. And it looks like they're in trouble. But then suddenly the deputy captain shows up, but you don't know he's there yet. So the other member is protecting the people and they're about to make a run for it, but then suddenly a hand touches their shoulder and it's the deputy captain. But you hear this sharp noise of dangerous music, but then it's him and then a smile's on everybody's face and he's like, go to where the pilot's falling and get him to safety. And just run. And they're like, understood. And then they look up and but then one of the kids in the group breaks away to distract the monster, to pull the monster away. Then he's getting really close. The monster's about to step on the kid. Everybody's away. The deputy captain's alone. He has this look of, oh no, on his face. He pulls out a capsule. He lifts it up. And then Ultraman's there. And the monster practically hears the music of Ultraman's arrival and turns around. And Ultraman's like, bring it. So
I love it.
So there we go. You can mute me now, Roberto.
Great to see you, Johnny. Take care.
That's a great story, though. I love that.
All right. We've got Modesty Maltese coming up. Welcome, Modesty.
Well, hello there.
Hi, Roberto. Hi, Rob.
Welcome.
I'm just going through the first stages of ice age that Britain has entered. So we are adjusting to the new climate. We haven't seen the sun at all, and it's pouring and it's pouring and it's pouring and it's cold, and we are all dressed in winter clothes, and May is around the corner. So we are very cheerful people.
April showers bring May flowers, right?
You wish. It's just too depressing, and everybody's sick. I was sick almost all week. It's really horrible. It reminds me of the year 2000 when a cousin was visiting me in July, and Pavarotti was singing in one of the parks, and I had the tickets. And we were dressed because my cousin brought only summer clothes, because although I told her it's October here, bring winter clothes, she couldn't believe it. So we went to that concert wearing my skiing gear, and I'm not joking. So I think we are up, it looks like that kind of year. It's really bad.
Oh, no.
But what I wanted to ask you and Darth Plato is because I read that the Japanese audience is very happy with the historical accuracy of Shogun. And that, people who made it were very kind of afraid that the Japanese audience will not be happy because Richard Chamberlain's version was not accurate.
No.
Anyway, I wanted to hear your opinion on this, and also this bad actor who was playing the British guy, and who is American. I think he is not British. The English guy in Shogun.
You didn't like Cosmo Jarvis?
He was awful. No chemistry with the Japanese girl. It was bad. Everything else was great. He was just, horrible. But I was wondering what is irritating me so much about his voice, apart from it being robotic. And then it dawned on me, he was imitating Richard Burton.
Yes, he was.
I mean, all the time.
Yes.
And then it became funny because, once I realized it, then it was really fun. But for all the wrong reasons. But the question is, what did you think about the finale? And
I
the
really
ending?
I liked it. I mean, I thought, it was not this slam bang action finale that people wanted, but I really liked all the relationships of all of these people, and I thought it really showed. I like the fact that Toranaga was thinking way ahead. He was playing chess on a level that no one knew, and I really liked it. I mean, when he said, I sent a woman in to do what armies couldn't do. And I think my biggest failing of, I think the biggest failing of the show for me was a lot of the plot mechanics, because you had to be listening to what people had to say. So in terms of, I don't think that a lot of the audience knew exactly what Toranaga was trying to do, because a lot of it was sort of, you kind of saw it, but it didn't come across as, I wanted it to be more like Michael Corleone in Godfather. When he kills the members of the 5 families, and you really understand what's going on. Whereas Toranaga's game was much more intellectual as opposed to being visceral. And I don't know if they conveyed enough of how all of that worked, because you didn't really understand that there was a lot of other standing armies in other places, and it was just these 5 guys in Edo or whatever, in Osaka. It's like, who cares? Just storm in there and Crimson Dawn them all, or Crimson Sky. I mean, who are these guys? Why are we putting up with this BS? I mean, I understood it because I'd read the book and everything, but I still loved it.
I thought, I would have liked it better had that scene when he's actually telling what's going to happen. That scene should have been kind of more elaborate for non-book readers.
I agree.
So that people actually know what's going to happen in the end, because yes, he will win, but how? We should have seen that in more detail, I think.
I agree.
I love that this suicide scene was kind of given that prominence. I love that, but I didn't understand why they went to England at all, to these grandkids, because it seemed to me as if they filmed more in England and then they cut it, and they left this just to show us that he came back at some point. But it was so out of context. That scene was clumsy, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I understand what they were trying to go for, but it was sort of unnecessary, because especially, the question is posed is Mariko going to live, or does she actually die? And it ended on a cliffhanger. And then by opening it like that, I mean, I'm sure somebody said, yeah, it's like when Gollum, we see the origin of Gollum at the beginning of Return of the King. Return of the King opens with this bucolic setting and it's going to give you insight that you've never had into Gollum. I'm sure somebody brought that up and said, let's do that with Blackthorn. We're going to, instead of going back into the past, we're going to go into the future and show what he is, what he became later. But clearly that wasn't, it was him as a young man fantasy or having a dream about it, because he still had Mariko's cross, in that dream. And I'm like, why do that then at all? I understand.
It was weird. And also that mask, the aging, I don't know how, was it prosthetics?
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It wasn't good. It was, I don't know, it took me out of, but luckily I love Toranaga so much that the second I see him, I'm fine.
Oh, yeah. No, he's the best. It's funny. I posted, I saw somebody had made a clip. I don't know if it was on TikTok. I reposted it on Twitter, of his entire career. That actor, so not his entire career, from when he was a young man in Japan. He was like a teen heartthrob, in like the 80s, you know, and how he's grown up and he has such a great career, and he was a producer on the show. So I think, and he was so good.
I can see him as a heartthrob. My time is up. I just want to say a bizarre thing. He reminds me of my grandfather, and I loved my grandfather. And the whole, you know, the body language, the movement, the strategic approach, the calmness, everything. I was like, oh, here's my granddad. Oh, yeah.
Great to see you,
Anyway,
Modesty.
Bye, guys.
By the way,
Good to see
Modesty. Oh, sorry. Just going to say, Cosmo Jarvis is a British citizen, but he was born in New Jersey. He moved after 3 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. I read that, but still,
Yep.
His accent was so artificial, and he was really trying to imitate Richard Burton, and it was hilarious. I mean, why?
His father is British and his mother is Armenian American. So there you go. Straight from this
Okay.
Wikipedia page. So,
Wow.
all right.
Thank
Great to
you,
see you,
Robert.
Modesty. Take care. All right. And coming up next, we've got Kevin. Kevin is coming up next. Welcome, Kevin. You can join us now.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing well.
Right.
Well. Although I'm bummed there is no more Shogun.
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
Besides a couple of gripes that you guys had, I enjoyed it too. I think the end was subtle rather than having a big, huge war fight.
I agree.
It was kind of how Toranaga was kind of portrayed the whole time. Very subtle, very calculating. You know, he had his moments of violence, but a lot of that was in the past.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was, like you said, he was playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers.
100%. And I did love it when he said, I keep Anjin around because he makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Love that.
We went from that, and then last week my wife and I went and saw Ministry of
Oh, how was that? I'm dying to
enjoyed
see
it. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's Guy Ritchie's best movie or anything. It has a lot of those kind of Guy Ritchie things in there, kind of that funny humor while there's a lot of violence. I thought it was pretty fun. I just watched Drinker's thing, and when you start listening to other people talk about it, you see, oh yeah, it was probably a little slow here, a little there, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. It's kind of that 1990s, early 2000 kind of violent romp, but not overly violent. I mean, it's not. I'm not giving anything away. There's not like blood spewing all over the place, guys' heads getting blown off, but it is funny. I forgot the actress's name. Same thing. She's very easy to look at. But yeah, I enjoyed it. My wife enjoyed it. We both enjoyed it. So
Nice.
Kevin, sorry to interrupt, but have you seen Guy Ritchie's series on Netflix, The Gentleman?
No, we haven't watched The Gentleman yet. We watched the
movie.
What was it? The movie. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think
the series is good.
Yeah, the series is very good.
I'm waiting for my son to get home. I think he wants to watch some of this stuff. So he's getting home next week. So we'll probably start watching some of these things. But yeah, I didn't really have a lot.
Is that it for his college? Is he done with this year of college?
Yeah, just freshman year. Yeah, he's got finals this year, this week, and then he's.
It's so wild to me that I always think of school as ending in June.
Most of them do. He started a little earlier. Like all of his buddies that went to different schools all around, they started probably a month after him, and he just that's when he started. He's you know, I don't want to go off on a rail, but we're seeing all this stuff obviously that's happening on college campuses, and so far we talked to him a couple days, and a lot of it I think is because he kind of keeps his head down, and he's in the engineering department, so I think he kind of isn't in the main quad where a lot of this stuff is happening, but he's kind of pissed because I already saw like your alma mater USC just canceled the main ceremony.
They come. I can't believe it.
It's just ridiculous. And I'm, you know, at Columbia they're going online. I think it was Columbia that's going online the rest of the year. It's like you're paying $90,000 and you're not even going to school. You know, it's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I mean, but to me, it's like, look, protest all you want.
Yeah.
But when you get in the way of the learning experience of everyone else,
it's
I mean, when does your right to protest? Does your right to protest trump other people's right to learn?
The one thing I'll say, if you want to talk about the Israeli government, how some of what they're doing, fine. But the second that you start talking violence or killing people in mass, that's when it's disheartening. It's definitely disheartening.
Yeah,
it's frustrating. So I try to. I didn't want to go too much into that. It's just frustrating. My wife she's like, I can't watch the news right now. This is just, you know, she's just upset about this kind of stuff, and we don't have any skin in the game. So but it's still just frustrating. Any of this kind of stuff. So, but yeah, but anyways, I was gonna say, you know, and I got a couple of things because I'm kind of on that samurai Japanese kick. I got these couple of comics. They're actually French.
Nice.
They're actually French comics, but these are the English versions of them. So I can't read French, and I don't want my wife reading to me like I'm a child. So I just got the English versions of them.
Of course, sure. You got to watch Have you watched Blue-Eyed Samurai yet?
Yeah, I love that show.
It was so good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. My wife is she's learning Japanese right now, and I'm learning French. So along with other stuff. So because we want to go maybe in a couple of years, we want to go to Japan and enjoy that. So
yeah, I've wanted to go there my whole life. I just have to take like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We've already talked about, you know, when we go on vacation though, oftentimes we try to skip a lot of the big cities. We really enjoy just kind of relaxing and taking it in. I think going to Tokyo though, I'd have to, just because of all the toy stores.
I mean, but I'd like to go to other places. You know, I'd like to see the countryside. I really want to go to Hokkaido Island and see the snow festival and go skiing up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'd love to do that.
A lot of we like to do that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we're kind of she's leaving tomorrow. She's going to pick up my son, and on her way, she's kind of taking a detour. She's going to be looking around another part of the country, maybe to move. And
oh wow.
Even though we like where we live, it's you know how expensive it is here in California, and I think we just need a little change of pace. So we're thinking about moving, and I work for a big company where I can kind of go anywhere I want. So
that's good.
Hopefully that kind of works out. But but I didn't really have too much actually today. This is the other one. I just printed it out, so she's not sanded down or whatever, but this is
wow,
one of the ones that I'm going to work on here.
Oh, that's really cool.
She's very kind of like your Japanese game, so very well endowed and
yes.
Sorry if I'm offending anybody. And then not quite finished with this, but I'm almost done with him. I still got to do his belt, and then my wife is gonna sew a cape on him.
Oh yeah, that's very cool.
One of the only guys in Marvel that has a cape, right? So
yeah. I just ordered before he shut his store down because he's inundated with orders. I don't know if you've seen 3D Trekker on Etsy.
Yes, yeah, you told me about him. Who makes all
he does 6 scale. Like my dream is he's got he does 3 things that I want to get. He does the entire Enterprise bridge, the original series, in 6 scale, and it's incredible. And he does all of Sick Bay as well, 6 scale Sick Bay, incredible.
You're gonna need another house just to put all this stuff.
He does Quark's bar, as well. And
oh my gosh,
it's all lit up. It's so amazing, but it's
That's
expensive, but I did get, as a matter of fact, he shipped them. I did get, he does a captain's chair for the Enterprise refit from Star Trek the Motion Picture. He does the Kirk's chair and then a railing behind it. So, and they're perfect. And he did that, and then he also does the Defiance command chair from Deep Space Nine, and it's got the control panels out there. So I have those coming just because I love chairs, but his that bridge, man, that the bridge he does is unbelievable. I've only seen one person buy it, but it would cost I think it costs like $12,000 to get the entire bridge.
Oh my!
And then I have somebody, yeah, it's like 12 grand because each station's like $800.
Wow!
Because it's not just printed in color. He puts magnets so it all come. He does a brilliant job, and everything lights up, and it's sound effects and all that.
Is this the same person, Rob, who does for the 3 3/4 scale? He does like the Next Generation playsets as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and like he made a Jeffries tube, that Scotty goes up into, and he did it so it's a cutaway. So you've got the angle, and you can put the 3 3/4 inch Playmates figures in it.
Wow.
I mean, his stuff is so cleverly done. And I bought when I got Q from X06, I bought the throne he made from Encounter on Farpoint. It's not elaborate, but it's a place to put Q.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could put it on a big pole or something so it floats like it does in Encounter on Farpoint.
Yeah.
But he builds he makes a full scale cloaking device from the Enterprise incident that they steal off the flagship, and then he makes a Nomad, a 1-to-1 scale Nomad from the Changeling.
Wow.
It's perfect, and he's got extending, like the antennas extending, and there's a whole light kit on the inside.
Wow.
So it pulsates, and then he also does the M5 robot from Requiem for Methuselah, and all 1-to-1 scale. So he makes a ton of shit.
Yeah.
And his stuff is really, really good. I mean, and you can still tell it's 3D printed.
Of course.
But it's really well done. And his bridge is incredible. And I saw a guy made a coffee table. And the coffee table is all glass. And then you can look into it. But what I want to do is, I have a guy he made an 11-foot Enterprise model that it was all 3D printed and like the same size as the original production model. But because he's got those things, I want him to make me an exterior, like a bridge exterior, so you could put the bridge in it and then have a whole, like a section, like a table, but you have the actual exterior so it hides the edge of the set, so to speak.
Wow.
Or get him to build a conference room, and you could literally build a replica. I mean, it'd be fucking huge.
That would be
a replica of the original Star Trek sets, and as they were constructed on the Desilu stages.
Yeah, you could have a micro version of Trek Condoroga in your
totally.
In your
Yeah, James Cawley's sets. You could have the exact and have
All right,
Yeah.
we're gonna have Jason Fox come up next, and go ahead and add him here. And welcome, Jason. You should be able to unmute now.
Thanks. Okay.
What's up, man?
It's just an honor to talk to you, Rob. I followed you for a few months. Here's my question. It's been brought on by the death of Ray Garton. What do you think is the future of transgressive art? And well, mostly I'm asking you in this case, even though he was like a novelist about cinema, because there's so many great transgressive art. I mean, even right behind you there, like Dawn of the Dead, in its original 1978, how should we put a commentary on consumerism, or something like The Loved Ones, with the space age and the funeral industry, or like Incident on a Train in 1967, or Taxi Driver, Apocalypse Now. Could that stuff even be made today where everyone is so easily offended?
Jason, that is an amazing question, and I think about it literally every day. And here's
Because-
well, to answer your question on simple terms, I'd say no. I don't think that, and I think transgressive art, like it's something, and even as a kid, transgressive movies, transgressive literature, transgressive art was always something that I was interested in, you know, pushing the boundaries. And I found it first really through horror novels. Like I was reading horror novels when I was 10 and 11 years old that were wholly inappropriate, you know, and this was even pre-Clive Barker. But if you read the early works of the British authors like Graham Masterton and James Herbert, they were incredibly sexually explicit. They were incredibly violent.
Or those old EC comic books that were
the old
so reviled.
but the EC comic books were kind of, in a way, there was an innocence, even though they were totally graphic, but there was still kind of more of a Halloween. I mean, this wasn't there wasn't really explicit sex in those comics. You know, they've still, like the original Mars Attacks trading cards. You know how those were the hells of pop and violence in those, and I think what's really strange is there's a loss of the idea of satire and comedy and transgressiveness, kind of real. Like when you think about underground comics or something like Fritz the Cat, and these are things I was watching as a kid, and they didn't twist my soul. And I understood, or even the early works, the body horror of Cronenberg was pretty transgressive. And I think, yeah, and I think now, or, you know, even David Lynch's Eraserhead, and of course Pasolini's Solo and all this. I don't think people today, there's this weird idea that we have to be nice to everybody now. But at the same time, I think that's a good thing. But why can't we delve into the dark? Human beings have a dark side. Existence has a dark side, because you're gonna die, you know, and human beings we're not just all hunky-dory. There are dark sides to every human being, you know, and that's what they talk about even at the beginning of Apocalypse Now. The dark side of
society as a whole, like things like, I'll just say real quick, like, and then we get your comment on it, like things like the original Night of the Living Dead and the mirror that held up with racism and stuff like that. You know, it serves such a purpose for, you know, sometimes it reflects back at society things they don't want to see, and we're going to lose that, is my fear.
I totally agree. I think we are going to lose that. I think that what's really bizarre is people don't acknowledge the reality of human nature itself. They want to pretend like all of this. I understand you want every group to feel included, but on the other hand, you have to understand that, well, it isn't normal. Like that, there are realities to the world that we have to respect, and only in like human nature, only like if you're taking, for instance, biology class, and you're looking into the reproductive systems of mammals, for, you know. Suddenly now we live in a world where human beings are somehow removed from that. Like, yeah, this sexuality is not the way but every other mammal on Earth is studied like in a certain way. And now we're trying to pretend that humans are somehow removed from the natural order of things.
Yeah.
And I look at this and I'm like, well, you can do both. You can talk about the normal state of being, and then you can also, because we're self-aware and we're beings of spirituality, that's in addition to, as opposed to, well, now we have to change what we thought was the biological reality. I'm like, you're not changing anything, because the biological reality doesn't just exist in humans, it exists in everything.
Well, Rob,
and why?
I'll just say real quick that I watched a YouTube video, and this person was talking about something called gonadal ridges, and trying to like say like, oh, there's like sexes on a spectrum. Like there are, like, I hate to say it, but there are like genetic defects, but it's like most people are supposed to, you know, the human race is supposed to have like two hands. Some people unfortunately are born without them, but that doesn't mean, like, you know, that's not the norm.
Right. And that's the thing that people don't, and there's no reason why we can't have these discussions, but I feel that now no one wants to tell the truth. You know, no one wants to be honest and say, look, we're talking about we're understanding the human brain. We're understanding, like, for instance, and I've said on the show a lot, it makes sense to me that there are human beings that are born that during the process that you would have because the brain structure between males and females is different. That's true of every mammalian species. And it makes sense to me that a human being could be born with the brain chemistry of a female in a male body and vice versa.
Sure.
So that's a real thing. And right now we can't quantify it yet. We don't have the science, exact science, but like in Star Trek's time, they would totally understand that. Like, yep, you were born trans. It's a naturally occurring thing. You were born trans. And there are mechanisms in science that can show us this. We just don't quite have that understanding and technology now. I think in the future we will. And we'll be able to say that this is absolutely, but now we're trying to get around all of this stuff. I mean, I don't understand why people just don't say that, yes, it's a possibility that somebody is born in the wrong body. I see that as an actual, why, of course that can happen. Like, why wouldn't that happen? And that probably happens in the mammalian world too, but we just don't know it because they can't talk to us and tell us these things. And I feel like we are losing the ability. Transgressive art is to deal with those things that human beings might not want to necessarily deal with, but we all know are true.
Exactly.
That's why transgressive art works. And that's why, but if you watch it in the context of fantasy, science fiction, and horror, it becomes much more acceptable. And I think that's why Rod Serling made The Twilight Zone, because he wanted to deal with issues that you couldn't talk about in polite company. And that's why Cronenberg made body horror movies, and science fiction exists. So science fiction like The Sparrow we were talking about earlier, that deals with interesting questions about faith and religion, but you put it in a science fiction context, it doesn't make people angry. And I think what's happening is human beings, we're losing our ability to understand all of this, and we're not talking truthfully to one another anymore, and we're, because for fear of, we don't want to alienate people. And it's like, look, it's not about the alienation, and it's not about the non-acceptance. It's about having real conversations about where we are as a people. And I think that it's immature to not be able to talk about things head on. This like, well, none of this is like, let's pretend there is no truth, but there is. Fire is hot. Gravity causes you to fall off a building. And how far do you want to go? Up until certain issues nowadays, oh, you can't say that. And it's weird, and I don't get it. But I think transgressive art is where our civilization would deal with these issues first. And now it's kind of going away because people are like, well, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's unfortunate. I hope we don't lose it. I hope we don't lose transgressive art, whether it's horror fiction, because, I mean, I've often said I'd be canceled for half the shit I have on these walls or in these bookshelves and over there. People would like, well, why do you have that movie? Why do you like that movie? Do you know what happens in that movie? Mm-hmm. Are you saying you support this kind of behavior?
Yeah.
No. I'm saying that it's a spectrum.
Right.
Of all kinds of transgressive art.
Right.
So.
All right, Rob, we've come to that time when we say goodbye to our friends in YouTube, and we continue the chat in the
have we done all any super chats or anything?
Nothing new. So anything on the other side on the tips that you
I did get, since we're here, I did get it. I'll read it again on a different show, but This is an interesting one. Anonymous sent in, this was from 3 days ago, but I haven't done a show. Anonymous sent in a tip and said, I believe that CGI has diminished creativity in TV and film. I hope Furiosa revives desire in practical special effects. Other fans seem to agree. Do you think Hollywood will hear the cry of practical effects and better stories, or just carry on into financial disaster? Well, it's funny. I've heard a lot of people say this, and I think CGI, computer graphics, are just a tool. And they're now being used, like at first CGI could be used to create spaceships or monsters or whatever. Now it's being used for set extensions and whole environments. And I do think that the overuse and the reliance on CG as a tool, I mean, look, Shogun leaned heavily on CGI, but I thought it was done done very well. Mm-hmm. There was some shots for the only time in the final episode, the 10th episode, there was some shots at the beginning where Toranaga lets his bird go away.
Okay.
And I'm like, that back on the volume stage, or it's a green screen comp entirely. And that, it kind of bothered me, but the show did a pretty good job of keeping that in check, even though there's a lot of, it's really easy to use visual effects to recreate period now. And I think that's fantastic. But, you know, when you watch a movie like Ant-Man and the Wasp or Quantumania and Ant-Man and the Wasp, when I looked at that film, I didn't believe any of this. I'm like, this is all CG. I don't believe the quantum realm exists. It's CG gobbledygook. And if you had given me a quantum realm that I could believe in, and I really think that was a big problem with that movie. There are other problems, but I think one of the problems with that film is you go back and you watch Winter Soldier, and even though you're on SHIELD helicarriers and there's all this mayhem happening, you believe it.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that the Marvel movies made you believe in Iron Man, made you believe. I mean, even though you go back and you watch Captain America, the First Avenger, there's a lot of CG in there to recreate the period when you go to the expo, the World Expo, but you still like the film. It doesn't have an over-reliance on, but now you look at Quantumania and like, I don't care about any of this because it's just noise. Same with Thor, Love and Thunder. I'm like, you've left the plane of reality and gone into goofy land.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think people do want practical effects, and they do want to believe. They want to feel they're in naturalistic environments. And when you are going into the quantum realm, make it believable. You know, make it interesting. The way they recreate it with all the colors. Where do those colors occur in nature? Like nowhere.
Yeah.
So it created an artificiality that I think ruined the experience.
Yeah. All right.
But that was from Anonymous.
Well, thank you, Anonymous, and thanks to everybody on YouTube who joined us here today. For those of you who are in the member call, the conversation will continue. And for those of you who would like to join the member call in the future, remember becoming a member here on YouTube is as little as $1 a month. And that gives you access to the Zoom link so you can join us when we do these conversations. So thank you so much, everybody. Rob, any last minute words to share here before we take off?
Well, no, it's good to see someone like Jason as new people.
Yeah.
You know, and I would encourage, you know, if you're shy or bashful or whatever, just come on in anyway. Water's warm, it's fun.
And it was also good to see Aaron, whom we hadn't seen in a while. So it's nice to reconnect
100%.
with old friends as well. Okay. Well, everybody have a good rest of your weekend, wherever you are. And again, the folks who are in the Zoom chat, the chat will continue. We'll see you later.
So now we'll go to Charles.